Hello.
Come home early.
Oh, I can't. I'm working.
I bought Bud Light.
Taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down. Make it a Bud Light.
Known for its aggressive and creative marketing, Bud Light has been the favorite beer of America and has made a reputation for being a manly and macho beer that brings the guys together. However, in less than a year, the brewery giant lost about $1.4 billion in sales as their 20-year reign as the kings of American beers came to a dramatic end. In this video, we'll show you how one of the largest companies in the world was brought to its heel by a 50-second Instagram reel, a can of beer, and very angry Americans. For those who don't know, Bud Light is a beer brand under the famous brewing company Anheuser-Busch InBev, which is or was the biggest brewing company in the world with over 100 different brands under their umbrella, including Budweiser. They're known not only for their quality of their drinks and advertising, but also for what they represent in America. As the #1 advertiser of the Super Bowl, they are the go-to beer to support American football and sports in the country. They are also famous for being a fratty and masculine beverage for drinking at parties, frat houses, bars, and everywhere people can gather around to enjoy a drink. So, how did such a household name lose the plot so badly? Everything started with someone called Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan is a transgender influencer who has about 9.5 million followers on TikTok. As of March last year, she was celebrating an entire year of transitioning, which was supposed to be all fun and games. However, her celebrations became an odyssey that changed her life. As a way of supporting the influencer's milestone celebration and promoting March Madness, Bud Light sent Dylan a few cans of beer, one of which had her face imprinted on it. Dylan was excited by the gift and eagerly showed it off to her TikTok followers.
Hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports.
Her fans may have liked the video, but a part of America did not. Apart from the fact that she didn't seem to know anything about March Madness or sports in general, making her the face of a Bud Light ad was a political statement that Bud Light's American customer base didn't want to hear. To put it simply, the Bud Light was going awry. Given Bud Light's usual ad campaigns and their reputation, it is safe to say that their main customer base is made up of men and right-wing Americans. This type of ad campaign went against what was normal and acceptable to them. Their response was nothing to be surprised about. A huge portion of American customers tagged the brand as garbage beer and stopped buying it in what became one of the largest boycotts in corporate history.
I will no longer be modeling any of their clothing or posting it on my Instagram account.
As if that wasn't enough, other people of influence promoted the boycott by telling AB InBev to go woke or go broke. Country musician Kid Rock joined in by making a solid statement in one of the most American ways possible. Following this insane boycott, Anheuser-Busch InBev lost about $1.4 billion in sales as Bud Light's sales declined by 50% in America. By the end of 2023, AB InBev saw a decline in sales of about 17%. Its share prices dropped from about $68 per share in April to about $53 per share in November. What was supposed to be an ad to target a more diverse customer base became a nightmare for the company. All fingers eventually pointed to the one who came up with the idea to sponsor the transgender influencer, who was none other than the company's new vice president of marketing, Alyssa Heinerscheid.
When I took over Bud Light, it was, this brand is in decline, been in decline for a really long time, and if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light.
In all fairness, you have to give Alyssa credit for coming into the company to do her job. She thought the company could make more sales if it had more diverse customers. More diverse customers meant more people buying the beer. However, she missed an important step in marketing, which is knowing your customers. Basically, almost every company tries to diversify their customer base by being more inclusive and promoting minority representation. Disney and Netflix have become notorious for it. However, Alyssa's approach took a hard turn instead of a soft and gradual approach that seemed to vilify Bud Light's customers. She explained that Bud Light's brand was one with the fratty and out-of-touch humor that needed to become brighter for both men and women.
It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men.
This became an idea AB InBev had to pay dearly for. She was eventually placed on leave, with rumors spreading around that she had been fired by the company. However, that wasn't enough to ease the anger customers had against the company. As a matter of fact, more tension was being brewed on the other side of the country by the LGBT community, which grew angry at AB InBev for abandoning Dylan Mulvaney in the midst of all that bullying she was facing. The swift downfall in sales revenue and stock valuation made not just Anheuser-Busch InBev, but every other brand that worked with the influencer throw her out like a hot potato. She later came out on Instagram to talk about how she went through the most bullying and transphobia she had ever gone through in her entire life, and how the company never reached out to her.
Thing I will not tolerate people saying about me is that I don't like beer.
In a Billboard article, Dylan said that for a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse than not hiring a trans person at all. Anheuser-Busch left Dylan on an island to deal with all that hatred from right-wing America by herself. She was basically drawn into the heat of everything by the company without knowing what to expect and abandoned to deal with the consequences of their actions. The LGBT community found that unacceptable. The company was focused on saving their own image and doing everything they could to receive favor once again from their primary audience. They went even harder on their advertising, trying to advertise the Super Bowl once again, denying having anything to do with Dylan and explaining that Dylan's customized can was just a one-time thing. For a long time, the measures didn't work. The boycott continued, and Americans made sure not to touch any beverage owned by Anheuser-Busch. As a result, the company lost its place as the king of American beers as more people went for the Modelo Especial instead. Bud Light was projected to lose 20% of its shelf space in grocery stores to create space for better-selling beverages. Their downfall seemed imminent. However, things started to take a better turn when Kid Rock, who was at the forefront of the boycott, asked Americans to stop boycotting the company, saying that it is better to improve than destroy and that they had made a mistake. Dana White, the president of UFC, also publicly asked Americans to stop the boycott as he changed his opinions on the company. This was, of course, following a $100 million sponsorship deal he signed with Anheuser-Busch. Anheuser-Busch also tried to convince the queer community that they've been in support of them since 1998, in an effort to get them back on their side as well. Sales and stocks began slowly recovering, but some people still weren't convinced. It looked like the company was trying to buy its way to being favored once again. But their strategies, if anything, meant that they realized who their customers were, who their products appealed to, and who they should be advertising to. The company issued a statement saying that they wouldn't be taking part in any influencer marketing until more robust vetting procedures were implemented. They also hired 2 conservative political consulting groups to advise them going forward. As for Alyssa Heinerscheid, she was replaced as vice president, and then she was placed on leave along with her supervisor. However, the company denies firing her. As of February this year, the company reported an increase in percentage points of its lost market share, which is sort of a slow recovery. However, the company's stock prices have risen to over $60 per share in February, which means that investors are hardly bothered by the smoke and still believe the company is running for a comeback. Things may not be looking good for the company as they should be, but it is safe to say that they have a very good chance of becoming the king of beers in America once again. But for them to do that, this adventure has to become a solid learning experience for them as well as for other companies. It is normal for companies to want to establish social standing and make political statements in order to appeal to a wider and more diverse range of customers. But it is also important to know what has been working for the company and if it needs fixing. In this case, for Bud Light, it wasn't broken, so it didn't require any repair. To add to that, if you're going to introduce something new to an audience, it is best to start with something they're used to, and soft launch whatever it is you would like to introduce to them. Maybe the diversity campaign would have worked if they had been more subtle about it, or if they had introduced a demographic their core customers were more familiar with. It is also important to keep in mind that when it comes to beer, people often don't want to think about politics and representation. They just want to drink. Brewing companies should probably keep this in mind when trying to construct ad campaigns. It is clear Bud Light and AB Bev made the wrong choice in terms of marketing and staffing. Choosing to target a diverse audience isn't a bad thing. Disregarding your main customers at that level is where the problem lies. However, Anheuser-Busch is a company that has lasted over 170 years. They have survived 2 world wars, a Great Depression, and a lot more. They can definitely come back from this. Getting back their shelf space in American grocery stores will heavily depend on their customers and their competition. Brands like Modelo Especial are aggressively taking advantage of their setbacks to solidify themselves as the household American beer. But given the history Americans have with Bud Light and their aggressive advertising strategies, they could easily take back their shelf real estate across the country as long as they make sure to sponsor only the things that bring their customers together. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another. Thanks for watching.